Welcome back to another episode of the Unblock Your BS podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with my best friend, Victoria, who just became a certified somatic release breathwork practitioner, the same type of breathwork that I do, because it has such a profound impact on her life over the last 3 years of doing one-on-one sessions, of doing group sessions with me. She has a history of a lot of childhood trauma that she has been able to work through, heal, put behind her, and now pour into others that have also experienced childhood trauma. Victoria's healing journey has not been a straight line. It has been messy, raw, filled with moments of deep resistance. And I would know firsthand as her former coach and now best friend, especially when she first heard about breathwork. She was a little bit worried about breathwork. She was a little bit hesitant about it. She didn't understand what it was. But what happened when she actually experienced it was life-changing. And she has had a regular practice of it ever since. So much so that it has transformed her marriage, how she parents her children, and how she shows up for other women in her community. So in this episode today, we're diving into how unprocessed emotions live in your nervous system and keep you stuck in toxic patterns, the truth about why traditional healing methods often fall short. We're going to talk about how breathwork helped Victoria break free from those childhood traumatic events, her emotional repression, and the weight of her past. And here's the thing. If you've ever wondered why you know what you should do but still don't do it, or why you keep repeating the same painful cycles, it's not your fault. Your nervous system is wired for what's familiar, even when familiar is unhealthy. And that's exactly why I created the free 5-day Heartbreak to Healing challenge that we kick off starting Monday. It's totally free to join. So in just the 5 days of this challenge, I'm going to teach you how you can stop getting hijacked by heartbreak and anxiety, how you can rewire your nervous system for real, truly deep healing, and releasing the pain that's been keeping you stuck through a series of powerful breathwork sessions, through mindfulness practices, for teaching you the understanding and the logic behind how to use something like your breath to get out of your head and into your body. And on that final day of the challenge, or at the end of the challenge, we're going to be doing a live somatic release breathwork session. So you'll get to experience it yourself instead of hearing me talk about it endlessly on these episodes. So healing just doesn't happen in your head. It happens in your body. And if you've been struggling to move on, no matter how much time has passed, no matter how much you've sat and talked through it and ruminated on all of the reasons why or how or what you should have done differently, this challenge is for you. We kick off on March 10th and spots are filling up fast. We've had over 1,000 people sign up for this challenge already. So you can click the link in the show notes or head on over to unblockyourbs.com/H2H and grab your seat. All right, let's get into today's episode with Victoria talking about breathwork. Well, hey there, Victoria. Why don't you share where you're from, who you are, how you help people, and
Yeah,
we'll start from there.
awesome. So, new business adventure going on right now with the Breath of Healing, located in Kernersville, North Carolina. So, in the heart of the triad. And my goal is to simply let people know that they are not broken, they do not need fixing. However, I am here to hold space for you so you can process through any emotions that come up with you. And that is done through somatic release breathwork.
Yeah, it is. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. So let's kind of talk about how you and I met.
Ooh la la.
How
Yes.
did we? So
Ha-
you actually knew who I was before I knew who you were.
Yep. I
Okay, so kind of how,
fangirled you. Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that
how did
was
you and I meet? Yeah,
what, like 3 or 4 years ago now?
coming up on 4.
4 years ago. Yes,
Yeah.
it has been amazing. Through my other business, which is a salon, and so you were my business coach. Well, before you knew me, I was in your society, your group. I remember the
Yep.
first time you responded back to like one of my questions, and I was like, she answered me directly. And little did I know then this beautiful journey just by me simply joining that society. Little
Yeah.
did I know this whole life-changing thing that was going to come for me, and I'm so ever grateful for it, and now I'm able to help others as well. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah. So talk about, so for context, I used to have a company that was business coaching for salon and spa
Mhm.
owners. And over the years started developing a program specifically for those that wanted to build teams, and that's kind of where Victoria came into my world or my awareness. So we
Mhm.
started working one-on-one together, and I recognized she needed friends as part of the business coaching to have some more accountability and support of other women who are going through that. And so I created what's called a mastermind, which is a high level, high support program for women who are building teams. And as a part of that, I really wanted to do in person events. I wanted to do retreats because there's just something about when you get in person with someone or a group of people who are on the same, call it vibrational level, or who are doing very similar things, and the amount of support that you can get in that container. And I had been like obsessed with breathwork at that point. This was like 21, 22. So I've been doing breathwork for a little over a year, and it had been such an effective, powerful tool for me in my own business. I wanted to bring it to the members of that group, which was a very small group, what, 5 or 6 of us at the
Mhm.
time. And I wasn't certified to do it. So I know I had kind of teased about breathwork, that it was a cool thing we were going to do, but you had never heard of it, right? Or never done it before?
First of all, never heard of it. To be honest, I don't even remember you teasing it. I just remember it being there, and I was like, "Oh,
We're
what
doing
is
this.
this?" Like, and for context for me, I am a Christian, and I do hold, like, certain values that, I was just like, "I don't know what this is." I was like, "Are we calling on spirits here? Because I don't think I'm okay with that, really."
Yeah. You're afraid.
I was afraid. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
afraid, and then I also felt like, ugh, like, okay, we're here, we're on this mastermind retreat. You've put this together for us. You speak so highly of it, how it's been life changing for you. And I was like, maybe I just need to go through it. Now, I did say a prayer. I said, God, please let this be of you. And if it's not, just protect me through it. And after I said that, I was able to just relax and fully go into it.
Yeah.
Now, can I just go ahead and share my first
Yeah.
session, what that was
Deep
like?
dive it. Deep dive it.
Deep dive.
Yep.
Okay. So I think for us to fully understand how impactful my first session is to kind of give you a little bit of background on me. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I definitely had a childhood of trauma, sexual
Yeah.
abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. It
Yeah.
was very traumatic. And I have been in therapy for years, years as a child, years as a young adult, years as an adult. And even after having my own kids, I still partake in therapy, myself. And it's almost like it just came to a point, therapy, where I'm not going to lie, I was tired of it. I
Yeah.
wasn't anywhere. I would still have my same emotions that I could feel were suppressed in my body at the time. And every time it was almost like I dreaded my therapy. I would be like,
Mm.
"Oh, here we go." And it got to the point where I was trying to like be buddy buddy with my therapist, like, "So girl, what'd you do this week? What you got going on?" Instead of like fully deep diving me, because I've been talking about it years, for years,
Yeah.
talking about the same thing over and over again. So that's a little background on me.
Yeah.
And then of course went into this breath work, no idea what it really was, no idea any of that. But after I said that prayer, I was like, let me go into it. I felt secure, I felt safe, and man, life changing. The first 5 minutes into this deep breath, I wanted to cry. I just wanted to start releasing. And in that time in my stage in my life, I was not one who showed emotion outwardly. I would feel
Yeah.
the emotion
Well, you
inwardly.
showed anger. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were an angry girl back then.
Yeah. But I
There
wouldn't,
was that.
even then, I wouldn't necessarily like, I would show you because you made such a beautiful, safe container for me to express and not feel judged. But with
Yeah.
like other people, if I'm mad at them, it would be like a whoop. They wouldn't see anything inside, and then I'd get out there and I'm like "Ugh," on the side. And my first 5 minutes in, I was like, why am I wanting to cry? Like I just wanted to release something
Yeah.
inside of me that I didn't even know I was holding on to. And I wish I would have given my full self into it in that moment. But I was like, oh, there's other people in this room. Can't show the emotion. My entire
Yeah.
life, I was told crying means you're weak. You cannot show that emotion. You can't cry. You got to be tough. And I kind of couple more minutes passed through, and I had this beautiful just experience. I had no idea what was going on. I had never in that time even heard of inner child work. Didn't even
Yeah.
know, which is weird for all the years of therapy that I've had, and nobody deep dived that with me.
The inner child was kind of important for you.
It's super important, super important.
Love.
And oh, this will always be forever on my heart. This was the most healing start of a beautiful healing journey for me.
Yeah.
Is I was able to see little Victoria.
Mm.
I was able to see myself as a little 6, 7-year-old girl. And it was really unique to see her because I knew that was me. And also, in the same sense, I didn't have that emotional connection of, oh, poor me. It was more so looking at that little girl and comforting her in that moment
Mhm.
and coming up to her. And instead of standing over her in this authoritarian above and looking down and yelling and scolding, I was able to come to her and be on my knees and look at her eye level. And I put my hands on her and I validated her. And I said, you are going to experience pain. You are going
Mm.
to experience trauma and you are going to get hurt. But if you can only see where you're at right now, I'm so proud of you. And that was everything I needed to hear in that moment. And when I think about it, when I think back to it, it's like that was I have a daughter now, and that was the same age where she's at in life right now that I went and visited my younger self, which was just before the abuse. And
Yeah.
whew, it was impactful. It was
Yeah.
very empowering to be able to
Just from breathing. We didn't
just,
slip anything in our drinks. It was just breathing patterns.
just from breathing, just to
Yeah.
be able to give myself what I needed in that moment was just somebody to see me, to hear me, to say, you are enough the way you are. And I didn't have that in childhood.
Yeah.
And oof, it was definitely an experience that first round, and I was hooked. I was like, this is from God. I am so excited. That healed so much in me. And then since then, with all of the retreats that you host, there was more in person that we did. And we also have
Right.
done
Well, no,
virtual too.
one session would have been enough, but
Mm,
kinda talk to me about because I mean, how many times would you say you've done breath work now? I wanna say
mm,
15, 20 times, maybe more? My
yeah.
god, it's been years.
Honestly, I think I've lost count. It was that 3 years ago was the first session,
Yeah, it's
and then we did
2022, yeah.
quarterly, and then we've done virtual. So yeah, you're right. Probably about that 15 to 20 mark. And each time it's different. Not
Yeah, talk about that because I know it's not always,
mhm,
you're having a spiritual awakening every
mhm,
single time, but
yeah.
there's something that happens, and we talked about this in the podcast episode next week, which you haven't heard yet, but that there is a mixing of CO2 and O2. So your carbon dioxide levels go up. That's what kind of gives you almost that high experience
Mhm,
kind of on that second half when we do the repatterning. But talk to me about like the second time you did it, I think was we did in that hotel conference room with that other facilitator, and you had kind of
mm,
that vision of you now with how you were treating your daughter and the
yeah,
fears you had around her.
mhm,
And then
yeah,
talk to me about an
yeah,
ongoing practice and what that has done for your nervous system, for your trauma healing.
mhm.
Dive into that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, great point bringing up that one because I see how I was handled as a child, right? And I have some fears around my daughter growing up in this world, just so. And I was like, okay, I need to control her. I need to do this. I need to do this to protect her or for how she appears to other people in this world.
Right.
However, it was a beautiful awakening of, hmm, am I actually doing her justice though? Like,
Yeah.
why do I feel the need for that? And that is something that I love about breath work. Yes, each time it's different and something else can kind of come up for me, but it makes me get curious as let's get curious as why I feel that way. I think that way. Why do I feel I need to do that? And it's almost like a 3-month window. Something will come up for me in this one breathwork session. Within 3 months, I've deep dived it, I've evaluated it, I've stopped, I've listened to my body, and I've gotten curious of why is this coming up for me? And then how can we move forward from it in a good way that is helping everyone move forward? And I was able to let go of a lot of control with how I'm raising my daughter because I don't want her to have a childhood for her to have to heal from. I mean, I'm not a perfect parent by any means, and there will be stuff that she has to heal from. Um,
That's underneath, Sarah.
yeah, but how can I help support her in the best way that I'm not bringing my own fears into her child, right? And it's
Right, 'cause
how
it was something to do with her hair and what she wore, like, you had to have outfits
Mhm,
picked out and things
mhm.
coordinated, and she had to have, like, the perfect hair, or
Yeah,
kinda
and
talk to me
it
'cause that
was
was the awareness you had.
yeah, well, it actually was a disrespect that was, the disrespect because we had pre-planned everything, and then she something with braiding her hair, and I braided it, and I didn't do it correctly to her standards, so she undid her hair. And then I took that as a big disrespect. Like, I took
Yeah,
the time to do your hair. We had already planned this. I braided your hair, and now you're telling me it wasn't done correctly. And I was like, I'm not going to braid it. And she was sobbing, crying, going to school. Her little nervous system is now dysregulated, and I'm sending
yeah,
her off into the world having all these big emotions. And it's because I took my daughter as taking out her braids and just re-asking for it to be done as a huge disrespect. So that
yeah,
also brought up a lot of stuff of like, hey, you haven't healed this disrespect wound. Where is it coming from? Why is it there? What's coming up for you, Victoria? Like, let's figure out what we need to do because I look back and I just see a sad child that just wanted her hair simply rebraided. Would have took
yeah,
me what, 3 minutes? And me, I had to make a stand on it. Oh, I can't do that. But I mean, breathwork has just been beautiful because it's allowed me to really deep dive and get curious about myself
yeah,
and why I am the way I am. And again, it is such a beautiful healing modality because I feel like each time I've had a session, something different comes up. And
mhm,
within again, those next 3 months, I am able to process that and move through it and move forward. And I don't carry the anxieties around it. I don't carry the stressors around it. Now she doesn't want to wear what we picked out in the morning. Cool. Bleach your clothes. You can go to school. Like
Sure was.
it's not that
Big
big of
win.
a deal.
Yeah,
It is simply not. And when my nervous system is regulated, I'm better to show up as a better parent for them. And
yeah,
since I've done breath work so much, I know when I'm dysregulated.
yeah.
I know
Your
when I need
baseline is lower.
yeah, I know when I need to take a step back. Because I'm more like jumpy. I'm more edgy. I'm more like, oh,
Reactionary.
yeah, reactionary 100%. And I mean, our children learn from us. They see what we do. They watch us. And if I'm showing them healthy ways to cope, that's only going to help them.
Yeah. It's interesting when, breathwork one time is great. And sometimes people
Mhm,
have a variety of different reactions. Some people can't get connected to their body. It's not that they did it wrong. Just sometimes people are so disconnected from their emotions and their
mhm,
feelings. They have a hard
mhm.
time. Usually what's happening is when they're bringing the breath down into the belly, because it's not shoulder breathing. We don't want to give you a panic attack, but they'll start to feel the emotions come up and they're so conditioned to push it down and not engage with that. And so
Yes.
they'll control their experience. They'll kind of just start napping. There's a whole bunch of different ways that that gets expressed. And you and I can talk about that a little
Mhm.
bit later because you just
Yeah.
got certified. But oftentimes when people can't get what we call a full release, which is where the emotion is expressed, whether that's anger, sadness, laughter, you name it, a million and a half emotions. It's a self-awareness practice, even to ask yourself, why is something coming up for me?
Yeah.
That's a weird thought that just crossed my awareness. Why is that? And you
Mm.
get to the beautiful thing about the container of breath work is that you get to tune out the outside world, the noise, the
Mhm.
expectations, and really go inward to check in with yourself. And I feel like that's where most people are disconnected in the world, is they're so worried about everybody else and people pleasing and trying to meet expectations, or they're carrying their trauma with them and they're not able to get that energy of the emotion that's repressed out in a safe, healthy way. So we're
Mhm.
carrying it with us all the time. And when you
Yeah.
start to move into a regular practice of breath work, whether it's once a month, every week, every other week, there's kind of different ways that we recommend for you to, just depending on how much you're going through right now, a frequency to do breath work. You will learn what a regulated nervous system is through that practice. So then your baseline nervous system will start to get lower, where you're calmer more often than you're anxious. So now
Yeah.
you can tell when your anxiety starts to go up, and it'll feel foreign to you, which is a weird concept for most people since most of us live in really highly anxious lives.
Yeah.
But you'll start to feel that and go, ooh, I need to implement one of these tools, whether it's breath work, whether it's inner child exercises, therapy, sauna, hot plunge, cold plunge, whatever. It's like that's your awareness that your body is telling you something. So kind of talk to me about that connection, that you now understand your body
Mhm.
at such a deeper level of
Yeah.
what your body is trying to communicate to you, that maybe you had not had the awareness around or disregarded before doing something like breath work on a regular basis.
100%. To your point, majority of us are operating in that fight or flight. Oh, and that was me hardcore. Oh,
Mhm.
I think back and I'm like, the quality of life that I thought I was living was not enjoyable. Was not enjoyable. It was a physical throughout my entire body that I used to live almost 24/7. And it's like a tingling ping that would happen within my body, where it's just like I feel like from my head all the way down through my body in here, it was an edgy feeling. It was like almost everything like someone cuts you off in traffic and you're like, "Whoa," or this happens and you're like, "Ah," like it's a constant, like a loud noise or something like that. And it's like a physical reaction like that. And I,
Yeah.
I felt like so many people, and I know I did, I lived that for a long time. And now the baseline is low. It's calmer. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean I still don't have stressors. It doesn't mean my life is like, woo, rainbows and sunshines all the time. But it helps me be able to process that I'm calm. And when I feel that little tingling sensation again, that little like, ooh, ping or a little jolt throughout my body, I know, nope, we need to go ahead and stop that before it gets carried away again on me.
Not even stop it, but address whatever it is. It's like your body's alarm bells. And
Yeah.
most people think that that alarm bell means to stop or to run away from, or whatever their default survival skill is, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, which we're going to actually go deep dive in the 5-day challenge coming up. And it's a way to get your attention. Imagine your body is communicating to you in a language you have to learn
Yeah.
through anxiety, stressors, I mean, even sickness, illness, all of those things are your body communicating that something's off. And until you start to learn to speak that language, you can't understand how
Mhm.
to fix it. And I think that to me is part of the issue with therapy, is that you're talking about your problems, but you're not actually learning the language of your body.
Yeah.
And so you can go and talk about your problems all the live long day, but if you're not actually addressing the problems in the body, which most of it is based on the past, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's past triggers, past subconscious nervous system programming, childhood challenges, I mean, a whole slew of things. Your nervous system is that much more reactionary, that kind of quick
Mhm.
instant. You don't even see it coming. It's just now it's here. And breath work allows you to have a safe space to process that stuff without worrying about how other people are going to be affected by it. Right.
Yeah.
So it gives you a container to express things like anger, deep sadness, grief. I mean, even joy. Sometimes people are afraid to
Mhm.
feel joy. I have a lot of people who laugh during breath work because they're just like, this is so ridiculous. And yet I feel so good. And then also it's your way to kind of get curious about what is the sensation I'm feeling in my body and the thought that's associated with it. And when you can start to correlate, okay, I'm feeling it in my upper stomach, or I'm feeling it in my chest, or I'm
Mhm.
feeling it in my throat. Those are the main three areas where people carry trauma, stress, anxiety, fears. And so, even as a breathwork practitioner, and I know you're just kind of getting into this, I can start to see as somebody's having their breathing patterns and they're starting to express where they're blocked by what area they're trying to move most, because that's where it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. So, kind of talk to me now why you decided to get certified as a breathwork practitioner.
Why
I'm
not
so
is the
excited.
question. Why not? It was actually with you on our last in-person breathwork session, and I I had this joy wash over me,
Mhm.
and it was a beautiful session because it was like joy and love for so many people, not just for me, and not just for my team in that moment that we were having this breathwork session with, but it was the realization that, Victoria, this is not just for you. This is not just to help you and your past, your traumas, help you with your quality life, nor is it just to help my team. This is for everybody. Everybody has something to work through. Big T trauma or little t trauma or just getting more curious about yourself. Everybody, this is such a beautiful healing modality that more people need access to and
Yeah.
awareness and the education on what it is and what it's not. It is not calling on spirits. You are in control. This is your own breath. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I just had this thing that just kept coming to me. And that breathwork session is, your peace is attainable.
Yeah.
Your peace is attainable. And that's when I got curious. I was like, wait a minute. You're not saying your as in mine, as in Victoria's. It is yours as in a generalization of so many people. And just seeing the change in me, my quality of life, how I communicate with others, how I hold space for others. This beautiful change I want to help bring to as many people as possible. And
Yeah.
yeah, so went and got certified for it, which was a beautiful, intensive 4-day long course. And I'm so excited to be able to provide this now for others.
I know. It's such a cool tool. That's why it's
Yeah.
maddening that it's not widely known. So let's talk about what breathwork is, because I think a lot of people think that it's like, oh, we're going to sit and do some box breathing, or we're going to just sit for 5 minutes and control our breathing. And I like to emphasize, when we call it breath work, it's work. It is. It is work. Yes, you are doing breathing to create the work, but since this is fresh on your mind because you got certified about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
talk to me about, in the most simplest way, how you would describe what the session is like.
Yeah. So the session, the first half, you're going to have accelerated mouth breathing. So when you're breathing in through your mouth, it's not necessarily the speed, but the depth in which you can breathe. So that is diaphragm breathing. You're wanting to right here and also in the back. You want to envision this whole area filling up first, which that was a challenge, I would say, in my first breathwork session for me. I was used to shallow chest breathing. I had
Your shoulders
never,
go up.
I had never breathed through my stomach before. So that was new for me. In a way you can kind of test that is put one hand here, and when you breathe in, you want your lower half to breathe out first, and then your top will, not chest first and your tummy coming in. You want that deep diaphragm breathing. And you're going to
Yeah.
do that for the first half in the mouth, out the mouth, because
That's
our
like 30
goal,
minutes.
it,
30
it
minutes of that kind of breathing.
and I'm not going to lie, sometimes I dread it. I'm like, oh, here we go. Let's get this work in. And then 5 minutes in, once I find my rhythm and like those deep releases, then I'm like, okay, here we go. We're feeling it. We're sinking in with
Yeah.
it.
It's It's funny. Do you happen to notice, maybe not because you've done it so much, but those first 10 sessions that like the second you
Oh,
take
yeah.
maybe the third or fourth breath, you feel the emotion coming straight up. You're like,
Mhm.
there it is.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that part is meant to activate the nervous system of whatever's repressed starts to come up. And you
Mhm.
start to build heat. I mean, if you guys just practiced right now, just going all the way into the belly and just did 10 breaths of that, we have a 5-minute breath work that kind of gives you a little bit of a teaser. You'll start to feel heat building up, or you start to feel your blood flow, and you might even start to feel a little lightheaded. All of that kind of starts to pass after a few breaths, but you'll feel, if you have tension in your body, tightness in your chest as you're breathing against that, some emotion is going to come up. Now, some people think that it's scary, it feels scary or unsafe. That's why we do it in a safe container, and we're guiding you with music and with prompts or cues to bring up specific emotions that are repressed. Okay. So, okay, the mouth breathing. What else do you want to talk about? Anything else in
First
that
time.
first session
Yeah.
or the
Um,
first time? Yeah.
the way I was kind of describing it when I like hosted my first session, which was so fun to do, was envision when you're taking that deep breath in, we're focusing on the inhale and the short
Yep.
release outhale. So envision your breath is coming into your body in all aspects, going down to your toes, going down to the tips of your fingers, and just shaking, breaking everything up and releasing and bringing everything to the surface of whatever you need to. And then in that second half, we're changing our breathing. We're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth,
Wow.
and we're focusing on that longer release. You're still doing the same breathing, the diaphragm breathing all the way through. You're not doing any shallow up here that's going to put you in that fight or flight. It is that big, deep breath. And that is going to be for the repattern. And that one is the relaxation. That is the reward for your hard work and the first half of it. So
Yeah.
that second half is where sometimes it's like you're a space traveler and you're on your own. That's when you'll kind of, maybe you can have what feels like an outer body experience, or just a beautiful journey, whatever comes up for you in that second part. It is a calm, it is a relaxation. And one thing I love that you do when you host breathwork sessions is we always want to start with like an intention word. What I love that you
Mhm.
do is when you're hosting these, you mark that, and then you're able to use whatever word that is to give us cues to help us work
Yep.
through. And that has helped me so many times. Like if I'm saying my intention for the session is peace, you would
Yep.
come in and you would support with a cue of where are you not allowing peace in your life right now, which is
Yeah.
beautiful because then it gets you curious. You start to have that inward questioning of like, where am I not blocking peace from myself?
Yeah, which
So
is amazing after the first half because you get rid of the emotions that are repressed, and so in that second half, it really is a connection with your higher self, God, or just you, whatever you subscribe
Mhm.
to. I mean, Thor,
Yeah.
you name it. It's your connection without it's your nervous system is regulated, and this may be the first time some people have ever felt a regulated nervous system that's just calm. It's not reactive, and so when these prompts come up or these cues that we're giving as the facilitator, and not every breathwork provider does that. So that's unique to the training that we went through. And there's certain what's called neuro-linguistic programming cues that we're giving that are very much intentional about
Mhm.
bringing up transformation and change. It is fascinating that when you're asked the right question, the answer becomes so much more clear. And Tony
Mhm.
Robbins says the quality of our life is determined by the quality of our questions. And something as simple as in a regulated, almost like a high state, if you want to call it that, it is a very similar experience just with your breath. That when we introduce a question, your brain or your gut will have an instant response.
Mhm.
And then you recognize just how much you were blocking that. You probably knew that that was the direction you should head, or you needed to let go of that, or whatever. We use a lot of visualizations of, like a backpack holding rocks that you're putting down and stepping away from, or envision your future self and like walk into that future. There's a whole bunch of different ways that we, as the facilitator, will create a visual for you in this very receptive meditative state for you to step into that future that you want to live, that you have been held back from, and becoming that version of you that has been held back for so
Mhm.
long. And that is really where the integration piece starts, is in that calmer section, when you have let go of the things holding you back and blocking you. And then you recognize, I get to choose this future for me. I get to choose what I want to choose. And I'm not worried about the outside world, because everything is okay and safe inside. And
Mm.
that's what I love to kind of say once I welcome people back. I always go, welcome back, space travelers, just as
Yeah.
like a joke, because people are
Mhm.
kind of flying high and feeling really good.
Yeah,
Is nothing about your 3D outside world changed over the last hour, but everything changed within you.
so true.
And
Whew.
that's where the power lies, right? It's not that you have to go fix your outside world, is just a mirror to your inside world. And when you can change the way you look at things because you internally changed, the things you look at change.
Yes.
Mm.
Mm, 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 mm. Like
So
that
that's why
one,
we love
babe.
doing this. Awesome. Well, okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I mean, Victoria has been the biggest champion in my corner. She's the first person to scream from the mountaintops to complete strangers just how effective breathwork is and the coaching work that I do. And she has been my ride or die for the last almost 4 years. If you had to share, if somebody was curious about breathwork, or they're going through heartbreaks, relationship problems, even toxic relationship, divorce,
Yeah.
how might something as simple as their breath and a
Mm.
somatic breathwork session be something that could serve them if they're hesitant or nervous like you were that first time?
Yeah. I think for me to answer that, I need to look back when I was going through some really bad breakups. I had some very abusive past relationships. And I wish I would have had someone present this tool to me then. Because my biggest thing was I had absolutely no self worth whatsoever. I did not. I didn't view myself in a good light. I thought, I guess that's all I deserve. Might as well stay. Might as well just take this abuse. And throughout breath work, it will provide answers to sometimes questions you didn't even know you had. And
Yeah.
it has provided me with my worth and my value, and I am whole and I am enough just as I am right now. And you know what? I was enough then too. I just couldn't see it myself. And breath work is just such a beautiful thing. It is going to tell you so much about yourself, provide you strength, and give you clarity on so many aspects in your life that you may be struggling with. If Tara, if I had you back then, I don't even know where I would be right now. Like, you know, I I am so excited that you have this platform that is accessible to so many people. And I love that this is what you're doing with this, because
Yeah.
you're going to be able to touch so many more people with this by hosting this. And I think it's an
Oh, yeah.
absolute beautiful thing. I wish I would have had it then, but everything is in divine timing. And I'm grateful for the time that it did come up into my life.
You're going on this journey with me, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
hey,
because I'm in
I'm
the
like, wait,
corner
wait,
with my
wait
little,
for the breathwork
go
session.
Tara, go Tara. Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I am so excited that this is now the world that you're in.
Mm.
I remember when I was doing breath work probably once a month right after the divorce. And I remember a session where there was like a sexier song on that came on.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
had this awareness of like, I can be sexy,
yeah,
right? There was no sexiness happening in my marriage, and I did not feel attractive. I did not feel desirable. I did not love myself. And that one song during the breath work, like I was like, I can look at men in the eye now. Like, what a concept.
mhm,
And that really started me going on kind of a self-love and building my confidence back after
yeah,
being just having
yeah,
all of that destroyed in my marriage. And then a regular practice for me was even getting to the point when I've done it enough and you let go of kind of the stuff that's repressed. That's a really beautiful opportunity to explore other emotions that don't feel safe. Like for me, kind of my story is that I didn't feel safe with anger. Anger was not an emotion I expressed. I was on the receiving end of it. It didn't feel safe. I thought nobody should be angry. That's just a horrible emotion. And turns out I had a lot of anger that was repressed. And so once I had gotten rid of like crisis mode in my life where I felt like I had to be reactionary to all of that and could kind of soothe it through breath work and solve for it, then I got to explore a range of emotions. And I think I want to notice if this happens for you, that as you go into facilitating breathwork sessions, you part of our role, especially in person, is we want to push you at least 10% a little bit more into an emotion that's coming up for you. And so
Mhm.
part of that is we mimic or model what you're going through to help you. And part of that in our sessions, a lot of time, at least for me in our self-aware army, is getting out a scream or a yell or a growl or a grunt.
Yeah.
Tara of 5 years ago would have been mortified doing that kind of sounds with other people listening. Like it just was not in my wheelhouse. But having explored so many different emotions through breath work in a safe space, I now have a much broader emotional range. Right.
Yeah.
So on these sessions, I will pull back from the microphone so I'm not blasting your ears, but give you permission to scream and count down with you. And I will do it with you so it feels safe and that you're not alone to do it. And even just people being able to get that strength out, whether they fully scream or not, totally up to them, but it's like you almost give yourself permission because somebody else is with you on that.
Mhm.
And even the way I'm doing prompts, there's an emotion behind it because I recognize the power of somebody else expressing an emotion and almost the vibrational signature of that through their voice and reaching somebody else's ears who needs to feel that and let it out. Talk to me about, so she did the in-person training. When I did
Yeah.
this several years ago, I did virtual, so it was a very different experience. Talk to me about the discomfort that you felt that there were certain emotions that you
Super
had to do in front of
different
other people.
with the range. And one thing I want to say real quick before my brain loses it, when you were talking about being with somebody to express that anger. Oh, and a lot of times that's the number one emotion that people do not want to
Yeah.
express because if there's like that negativity towards it. Jagger, the founder of this whole modality, this company, this somatic release breathwork, one thing that he said about that I was like, light bulb, that makes sense is so many people are told and taught not to express anger. And when they have expressed anger in the past, when often and not majority of whatever that person would leave and that they would be left alone for expressing that anger. And
Yeah.
breath work, when you are able to be alongside with somebody, allow them to express that anger, get it all out. And guess what?
And they,
You're still there. You're still
yeah.
there to support them when they're coming out of it. That it is such a comforting thing for that person to think, wow, I can express that and still have somebody here for me afterwards. And
Yeah.
I do want to, after this, I want to talk to you and tell you my last experience that I have because that one was a top runner for the first one. I haven't had a chance yet. But to summarize it, I still was suppressing a lot of anger myself towards somebody who had hurt me in my childhood.
Yeah.
And I was talking to another practitioner that was there. And I said, well, I'm supposed to be, we're not supposed to be, but like I'm supposed to be forgiving and I'm Christian and I don't want to hold that anger for that person. This was the one thing I needed to hear that gave me permission to fully feel my anger is that all emotions, even anger, is from God. The
Yep.
way our bodies are made, that is all from Him. As you say, whoever you subscribe to, right? It is a natural feeling to have. So to be
Otherwise we
able,
wouldn't have it.
yeah, to be able to
Yeah.
express it and still have somebody there on the other side to help welcome you back and walk you through is just such a beautiful thing.
Well, some follow up with that because I
Yeah.
think to your point, learning to understand your emotions instead of avoiding them is the power that something like breathwork gives you because most people, okay, let's say anger comes up. Oh, I shouldn't feel that. When you learn to understand your emotions, you use them when they're appropriate, not when they're reactionary or you've just repressed them so long they explode
Mhm.
out and then you're causing hurt and damage. Breathwork is a safe container. You're not projecting it at anybody, right?
Mhm.
You're having an alone space through this, guided breathwork where you get to get that emotion out, because it is healthy for you to express all emotions. Otherwise, we contain them, right? Same thing with
Yeah.
happiness and joy. A lot of people are afraid to experience that because, oh my God, it might be temporary, or, maybe the other shoe is going to drop. So I can't be too happy and I can't be too sad. You need
Mm,
to be
yeah.
all emotions,
Yeah.
because when you learn when they're appropriate, like anger is a protective emotion.
Mhm.
It's definitely there. Like, if somebody is trying to steal your child, you better show up as angry. Because if
Yeah.
you're like, "No, I don't wanna get mad at him, just it's fine, it's a white van, honey, just go with the man."
Yeah.
No, you need the anger, you need to be able to draw on that. And so that's, I think, one of the gifts with breath work, is understanding the emotion itself,
Yeah.
and is this an appropriate time outside of breath work to use this emotion because I understand it. I also know a lot of people struggle to go deeply into emotions because they feel like they're never gonna get out. And through breath work, I learned emotions have a timeline. They rise and then they fall. And sometimes, especially in breath work, they get to the very peak. That's why people have a hard time going into it. They're like, oh my God, if I go down this deep, dark hole, I'm never going to get back out. And I usually say at those points, I'm here with you. I will get you out of this, but you need to go down and let's go together. Let's peel it back another layer. What's there? And then we can get you out of
Ooh,
that within a very set time frame.
ooh, I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
so
right. So
in
tell me about this other breath work session.
the range of emotions of the
Yeah.
in-person day one, I joked afterwards, I would have liked a little bit better definition of what intense meant, because I was not 100 prepared for that. But looking back, it had to have happened. You had to have done that. And it was beautiful. I absolutely loved it. The everything about it. So a range of emotion is there's five emotions. We didn't do sadness, but there's sadness, anger, resistance, joy, and love. And you're in a big group. There was 4 people at this training, and you're paired with someone, and you have to show physically, verbally, however you want, how you would express a love at a level 1. What does that sound like? What does that look
Hmm.
like? How do you feel that? And it's like a little sway. Maybe you're loving yourself. Maybe you're like, doing that in front of 45 people. And then you increase it each time. And then, okay, what's a level 5? What does that sound like? What does that look like? Are you like twirling? Are you doing this? So we went through all the emotions. And this was a beautiful exercise because everybody has a baseline, right? If your baseline of expressing a certain emotion is here, how can we hold a safe container? Like you said, sometimes people want to be up here. We have to bring our range up of feeling that emotion to create such a safe container that you can come in and it's okay. You want to come in on a level 10 on anger? Hey, I'm here with you. I'll make the noises too. I'll support you through it, and I will be here
Yeah.
at the end. You want to come in on a level 10 of joy and love and feeling amazing? Hey, I'm here to support you through it too. I would say all of the levels I could express except for one, resistance. I got to like a level 6 on that. And I
You
was
were
like,
resistant to resistance.
yeah, I was like setting my own resistance of saying no. So even through the training, it was a beautiful self inquiry again of, okay, I want to provide this for others. And also, how can I go about helping myself have a wider
Yeah.
range to support others more? So it was a beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
training.
What would be like if I did one of those in-person ones, and how that would really check me on my emotional range if I would do that in front of 45 other people. But
Yeah.
I speak
Yeah.
on stages, like I've embarrassed myself before. Bring it on.
So I was like, I want to go do this with my kids and see where their ranges are and like how to support
Oh,
them through it too? Yeah.
I bet one of your children would outdo you on anger.
Oh, 100%.
Just like mine would. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Access it real quick. Okay, so talk to me about that first breathwork session that you did with somebody.
Oh, the
You
one
want to
that I
share?
hosted?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it felt good. Hands-on touch. I was able to support through a little bit, push to that 10% more, match some of that sounds. I've got great feedback on me as a practitioner, what I can do better to make even more comfortable. It's a beautiful journey. I will say to pick up on so many slight cues that when I was going through it, I had no idea that I would be showing. but being taught what to look for, we're able to see that to better guide, support, cue you in on whatever you need to work you through the moment.
Yeah. It's really fascinating because I mean, the amount of breathwork sessions I participated in a group, I don't even think I've done that within 2 years. I definitely needed to get back into that practice. But it's when I started offering breathwork sessions as a part of Unblock Your BS about 7 months ago now,
Mhm.
that's when, I mean, I would do probably 4 to 10 a week, just depending on the week, and
Oh,
even my own development of what I pick up on in
mhm.
the sessions, and these are all virtual, like, it's way different in person
Yeah.
because of that energy and the hands-on touch, but even virtually, the amount I understand about how people show stress in their bodies,
Mhm.
how they pick up on breath versus when they're resistant to it versus when they're some people wanna have a conversation almost the whole time, and in my head, my expectation is like, "No, it's an internal experience," but it's them to process, and then we kind of pick up on something and I'm reaffirming what they're experiencing and you go deeper. So it is such a cool modality that there's almost an art to it, right?
Mhm.
There's an artistry to the breathing cues, the prompts, even the creation of the music. I have different playlists. Like there's so
Yeah.
much creativity that happens with it, so it's
Yes.
fun, a fun little tool. Okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted you to cover. Yeah, I think that's all.
Mhm.
I think if you guys are interested in doing an in person, if you're in the Winston-Salem or I'm in Nashville area and you want to do in person, Victoria's definitely looking for some people to test out. She does a beautiful job. She is the most warm and welcoming soul. You want no judgment, you go to her. She is just such an incredible creature. And I say that because she is my best friend and I wouldn't allow people access to me that aren't. And she knows me most deeply and intimately. So thank you, my dear. I appreciate you coming on,
It has been
sharing
an
your journey, and
honor.
we're just getting
It's been an
started.
honor. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, wow. I don't know about you. That conversation hits deep. Victoria's story is proof that healing isn't about fixing yourself. It isn't about being perfect. It's about learning to listen to your body, let go of the pain you've been carrying, and finally feel free again. And this is exactly why I created the 5-day Heartbreak to Healing Challenge. If today's episode stirred something in you, if you're ready to stop thinking about healing and start actually feeling it, this is your sign to join us. It's completely free. You'll learn how to break toxic patterns, release heartbreak from your nervous system, and start feeling like you again. But don't wait, we start March 10th and spots are filling up fast. So click the link in the show notes and register now. Let's end this cycle of suffering together and begin your healing journey. You deserve peace. You deserve clarity. You deserve love. Real, healthy, meaningful, reciprocal love. All right, I'll see you inside the challenge.